I've seen students who've applied to one school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't encourage that. I've seen students apply to 12 schools, and I certainly don't encourage that.
Yeah, you want to work with animals because you don't want to work with people.
That's
it's like,
not
oh no, that's
right.
not going to work.
Your GPA matters. That's a big deal. That's indicative of how you're going to perform in vet school, especially that science GPA.
What would help them improve their chances if they are reapplying?
Why are some schools getting rid of the interview process?
I've seen 4.0s come to an interview and not be able to have a conversation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the Veterinary Roundtable, the podcast where we answer your veterinary-related questions while having some fun along the way. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave us a review on your podcast provider of choice. And if you have any feedback to offer to improve the Veterinary Roundtable, let us know.
Alrighty, before we get into introductions, don't forget to check out our social media channels. We have Instagram and TikTok at the Veterinary Roundtable. We also have a YouTube channel where our video podcasts are published. So if you'd like to watch us, head over there. It's the Veterinary Roundtable. And continue using our text message feature. So in whatever podcast provider of choice you prefer, there will be a link once you click on the episode. It says text us or send us a message here. You click that, type whatever you'd like. If you do want to shout out on the podcast, you have to include your name. Otherwise, the message does come through as anonymous.
And we like to know who you are. No, I'm just kidding.
We like to give shout outs. If you want to shout out,
We like to
it's
try to
fun.
say your name or your handle.
We like reading the usernames.
We
They're
do.
so funny.
They are great. The usernames are great. So
I'm Dr. Ashton Duckwell.
I'm Dr. Emily King.
I'm Courtney Allen.
Okay, we have a special guest.
do.
Let's get to it.
Okay.
She has worked in the field of higher education at Lincoln Memorial University, also known as LMU, for over 19 years. Beginning her career in the undergraduate admissions office, she advanced to become the director of admissions for LMU's Richard A. Gillespie College of Veterinary Medicine. Prior to joining the staff at LMU, she worked as an AmeriCorps Vista. I'm just going to say it, volunteer in service to America, along with serving the Salvation Army as a grant writer and developmental director. Born and raised on a family farm that is adjacent to the LMU main campus, she is a local figure that understands the community and atmosphere of the area. Her goal is not only to recruit students for LMU programs, but also to convey hospitality to incoming students. She earned her Bachelor of Science and Master's of Business Administration degrees at LMU and is a continual advocate for the university. Please welcome Holly Napier to the Veterinary Roundtable.
Whoa, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. We're so excited to have you in
Yes.
person, too.
Yes, and in person.
Yes.
And yeah,
We've
it's
only
awesome.
had one other in-person guest.
Yes.
All of them are like, the rest of them are remote, so we're talking to a screen.
I feel very
So this is really exciting. And you get to
This
share
is
my couch.
Yeah.
I'm usually by myself on this couch.
I'm a celebrity now. So
It's
I'm
very
okay with it.
personable. I love
This is a topic that's near and dear to our heart because we get a lot of questions about this.
We do.
And, we only know so much, basically nothing. And so about
Right.
this
From
process.
our experiences.
Right. I
that's
mean,
it.
because now even for you, it's now even outdated.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think it's just so cool. It definitely shows your hospitality coming all the way down here.
No kidding.
Or up here, I guess, to be on the podcast.
So I'm
So-
excited that you invited me. I'm glad to be here.
Yes.
If you don't know, it's in Tennessee. It's about 5-hour-ish drive.
Yes.
So
Yes, it's in the corner,
we
right?
are right at the point where Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee meet. So
Yeah.
if you go to the right spot, you can stand with your feet in all three states at once.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty
Have you
cool.
done it?
No.
That's okay. Try it and then let us know how it goes.
It's a good time you came now too, because we actually have nice weather right now.
Yep.
It's lovely.
up
Because
here today.
the beginning, like the end of last week was not okay.
No, okay.
It was not.
You came at the perfect time.
Sunshine.
I would have been embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh gosh. So
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
It's Indiana.
She said it's very similar to home, just flat. It is. It's very similar to
flat.
home. Everybody's nice. Everybody's friendly. It's just flat.
Yeah. And lots of corn.
A lot of corn. A lot of
Well,
corn.
the corn isn't up right now, but
A lot of open fields.
I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's
Yeah,
get into these
let's get into
questions
it.
because we have some also that the listeners have sent in as
Mhm.
well after today's post. And
Yep.
so let's get started.
Okay.
'Cause there's going to be a ton of information.
I know.
I've
and
already-
we just kind of go with it too.
Yes,
We
and I've
might have
already
more.
drilled her about a bunch of stuff when we were out at dinner. I was like, so what do they do about this? And what do they do about this? And what do they do about this?
Yeah.
So,
Did you spill any secrets that we all need to know? Do we
I think
miss
she'll
anything?
get to them as we go
Okay,
through.
good.
So,
Good. I'm
Nice.
excited. On the
Yeah.
edge of my seat.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
let's
Okay.
get started.
You start.
You want me to start?
Yeah,
Okay.
do it.
All right. So we're going to talk about the road to vet school first.
Okay.
So, kind of like for people out there, what does the entire process look like nowadays when you're applying to veterinary school?
It looks complicated, if
Yeah.
I'm being completely honest. Students apply to vet school via the VMCAS, which is the Veterinary Medical Application System. And it's done by the AAVMC. And it's so detailed. It's so in-depth. It's not an application that you can sit down and do in an hour. You need days to do
Oh,
that
wow.
application. And you want to do it thoroughly
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to ask you everything from the courses you've taken to any academic explanations you want to provide, your letters of recommendation, go to that portal. It's just a whole lot of information. And it's even going to ask you about like volunteer hours, research hours, all of that. So you don't want to cheat yourself out of anything.
Mm-hmm.
I always recommend that applicants, I'm old school, get a notebook and a pen and keep track of their hours. Utilize your summers to get as many volunteer hours, shadowing, all of that as you can, because that's not going to be competing with your academic coursework through the fall and the spring.
Mm-hmm.
I always encourage that, but keep track of all that.
Mm-hmm.
People think, oh, I'll remember I did this and that. I can't remember last week.
Right,
I was
gonna
6
say.
months ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a long and a detailed road to apply to that school.
Do all the schools look the same? Like, did you apply through there? Is that how you guys applied?
I don't remember that. I was actually going to ask because I remember the ones that I did apply to, they had a general one, which maybe it was through that. I don't remember.
And then
Probably.
a lot of them have supplementals.
Yes, that was what I was going to ask if LMU had a supplemental because I know a couple did.
We do have a supplemental. So that's an additional application that most schools have where they collect a little bit more information, which is fine. But the way that VMCAS works is a lot like your FAFSA. You're going to fill it out, all that good information, detailed, and you're going to pick which schools that you're interested in applying to.
Okay.
And then once it's verified, which is a very important component of the process, then they send it out to those schools you've picked.
Okay.
And that way, that's how they get your information.
Okay. I
and
definitely
look at
did
it.
that. I remember
And you
going
pay
through
for
and
every
thinking,
school?
You pay by school, and it is rather expensive.
How much does it cost, like, for a school? Like, if you're going to, like,
it's
pick.
segmented into categories.
Okay.
Like 1 to 3 is a certain amount. It changes year to year.
Interesting.
But,
Okay.
I've seen students who've applied to one school. I don't encourage that. I've seen students apply to 12 schools, and I certainly don't encourage that. You want to pick the schools that fit you as a person. That's crucial. That fit you academically.
Yeah.
As far as the atmosphere goes, the environment, that's super important.
Yeah. I remember going through the process. I think a lot of the thought as a student and talking with friends was, I'm going to apply to as many as I possibly can.
Mercy.
Like what you said, right?
Yes.
And it's I mean, I guess I get like to increase their chances and probability, but then you're also spending that money. You have to figure out going to all those interviews. And yeah, so I don't know.
I always
hard.
encourage students when you can use the VMSAR, which is the Veterinary Medical School application. It's almost like a digest, and it's got every vet school in it, and it gives you kind of a snapshot overview of what the requirements are, what their application process looks
nice.
like. I encourage high school students, undergrad students to go through that and see which ones most appeal to them. Pick out 5 or 6. Do your best to take time to go visit. Whether you do an individual tour, whether you go to a preview day, it's so important that you get to know the culture of the school.
Yeah.
And you probably did that as an undergrad student. You visited different schools. I remember being, 17 and going to UT in Knoxville. And I came home and I said, Mom, if this is college, I'm going to drown. I needed a smaller environment.
Yeah.
And that school's the same way. Our school, LMU, is in the middle, really of nowhere. I love that, though. That means our students are not super distracted.
Yeah.
They have lots of outside things to do. It's beautiful. The cost of living there is very friendly. If you want to go to Knoxville, it's an hour away. Lexington's 2 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so funny to see students come from LA and New York and Miami. And they're like, what have I done? And I'll tease them and tell them there's more cows than there are people. But it's really a good thing in the long run. But you want to see these different schools to see where you will be the happiest and the most supported based on your personality.
Yeah.
That's really good advice.
I'm sure there's a question in here. How big is the LMU class?
Right now, LMU's the biggest vet school in the country.
What?
Wow.
I did not know that.
First class graduated in 2018. We take 100 students in January
Okay.
and 125 in August.
Okay.
We're the only school in the country that's been approved to do that by the COE, which is a big deal. We're really proud of that. We're proud of that. It's a lot of applications on my end. We get about 2,500. But, we take 2 different cohorts each year.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So you don't get a break with applications.
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
She's going home after this and doing doing waitlist work tonight.
But we get about 2,500 applications and then interview around 650.
Okay.
Something like that. And we do that via Zoom.
Wow. And that's $650 each cohort?
650 total.
Total. Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it's always Zoom? Is that
Yes.
because of COVID changed that, or is that always how it's been?
It was in person
Mhm.
prior to the COVID year, but that's one benefit I think that COVID has had for us because it's difficult and costly for applicants to travel
Yeah.
from California or wherever and fly into Knoxville and rent a car and get a hotel when I can just do a Zoom interview with them and our faculty. And it's still mini interviews, just like it was, but it saves everybody so much time and so much money. And we're all about being cost friendly as much as we possibly can.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That
I
makes
think
a
that makes
difference.
sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's like an ideal student, like an ideal candidate
You know, I really
for
don't.
vet school? Yeah.
I really don't. LMU is holistic in our review of candidates. And what that means to us, obviously, you know, your GPA matters. That's a big deal. That's indicative of how you're going to perform in vet school, especially that science GPA. But yeah, candidates are so much more than that. I've seen 4.0s come to an interview and not be able to have a conversation. So we look at those letters of recommendation. That's what helps to bring a candidate off the paper into reality, how they interact with their peers, if they're on time, if they utilize study hours. We look at what they've done in their community. And we like to see both people volunteerism and animal volunteerism because that shows they're well-rounded. You know, as a vet, obviously the pet is your patient, but their mom or dad is your client. So you have to be able to handle both.
Yeah.
So we look at so many different factors. That interview is a big deal. We look at all those pieces to make a decision on the final puzzle.
I hope it's been talked about enough that you have to deal with people to be able to take care of pets.
I hope
You know
so.
what I mean? Like, it's a conversation that's had quite frequently.
Yeah.
You know, like we constantly are talking about that. And it's like, yeah, you want to work with animals because you don't want to work with people.
That's
it's like,
not
oh no, that's not going to work.
That's the craziest term, or that's the craziest saying related to vet med.
It's totally
way
the
more
opposite.
people than animals.
It is way more people than
That's such a good point to look at people volunteerism because
It shows you're well-rounded.
I think
and that's not something
genius.
that we've ever mentioned as
No.
like a thing to pursue. You know what I mean?
That's
It's just
true.
a way to potentially make yourself better than your other people that you're competing against, you know. for-
Well, and it's so common for us to see applicants who will leave out sorority stuff or church stuff or what have you because they think it doesn't matter. It matters. It matters.
Yeah.
So you want to list that
Yeah.
because it shows you can adapt and get along with both environments.
So basically list every detail of your life except your social security number.
I keep saying they're going to add where they want your blood type on there.
Yeah. You might actually need your social security number. I don't know.
You do for your FAFSA. But it's very detailed. It's something that takes time to do, nothing you want to rush.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing with VMCAS, so the deadline is always April 15th. Please don't procrastinate and wait till the last minute. You'll thank me. Your mom and dad will thank me. I will thank you. It makes it so much more stressful because you're going to request transcripts to be sent to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't like it. You're going to request your letters. Sometimes somebody falls through. You want to give yourself time that's allocated to fix any of those small little issues if they come up. And they may not, which is great.
Yeah.
But if they do, you don't want to shortchange yourself because VMCAS has their deadline and they don't play. Once the deadline has passed, it's
done.
passed.
Yeah.
You're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Especially you want to have time to mull over what you're going to say and then go back and re-edit it and like just be intentional.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
For that essay section, it's like, why do you want to be a vet? Something like that. You want to be original.
And you mean don't talk about how your pet was euthanized and that made you want to become a veterinarian?
Don't talk about that. And don't talk about how you used to play with your teddy bear when you were little as a vet.
Right.
Pretending you were a vet. So trend it up.
Yes.
You want to use that portion of the application to really, again, bring yourself off the paper to show why it is that you're passionate about becoming a veterinarian, what you want to do with it. That's important. And the grammar is so important. You probably wouldn't think of that. I am a stickler with that myself, even with my staff and colleagues and teammates.
Yeah.
Let your English professor look it over. Let your mama look it over. Let whoever will look it over and critique it a couple of times so you can make sure that you're conveying what you're trying to say adequately and accurately. That's a big deal. Admissions committees pay attention to that.
Makes sense, right?
It's
If you
important.
can't construct a sentence on paper.
That's a little something.
Yeah.
But, every little detail counts.
Yeah.
It
Well,
does.
and attention to detail, right?
Yes,
So,
and I'm the queen of typos. My staff will tell you that I'm not one to preach on grammar with that. But it's a big deal, and they notice that.
yeah.
And you can get picked apart. And those letters of recommendation are crucial too. When applicants are looking for writers of those letters, you want to choose very carefully. You want to choose people who know you enough, have seen you in action to write a letter that can adequately and be articulate in speaking about you as a person, as a student, as an employee, what have you. It's common for us to get form letters. And we know that because they forgot to change a pronoun. We can tell. It's common for us to get letters of recommendation that are 2 sentences long.
Oh, wow.
Which is always sad. It's
Oh,
sad.
yeah, that is a bummer.
But you want to pick somebody who you have a rapport with that knows you and vice versa. And you need to ask them basically, are you comfortable writing
Sure.
a good letter of rec for me? That can be awkward. That can be intimidating. But it's important and it's worth it.
Yeah.
Do they want those letters to be good?
Did they send the letters of rec straight through the
To
portal?
VMCAS.
Okay, so the person can't
They
see
sign,
it. And
they sign a waiver. That
Got
they
it.
will not be able to see it.
Okay.
And so our admissions committee can see it. I can see it. But no, nobody else can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
How many letters of recommendation should somebody send? Is there a required number or can
Every
you?
school's different. We require 3
Okay.
from a vet, an employer, and a professor.
Okay.
I encourage, you can submit as many as you want. 5 is the max that I say, because there is such a thing as overkill.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
Especially when there's 2,500 applicants, there is such a thing as overkill. So I do not encourage them to go above 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Oh, for sure.
But like for students who are coming in and they're freshmen and they're sophomores in college, that's the time to start building those relationships with your biology professor, with your genetics professor, with whoever, your work study supervisor. Build those relationships and cultivate them so that when they submit that letter, it's strong and it paints you as a person.
Yeah.
We always say it's about who you know. I mean, it's also about what you know, obviously.
Yeah.
You can't just get into vet school just who you know. But
no, absolutely.
But I swear it's about the letters of rec and like
they're a big deal.
Yes, they are.
They're a big deal.
Well, especially if you know, like we were talking about at dinner about like how, like do LMU students that are undergraduates when they, how many do you have apply, to veterinary school? And then we kind of got off on a tangent about, well, their letters of recommendation are from people that they know.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's valuable because that those people aren't going to.
They're going to shoot you straight.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so I think in an application process, I always think about this like at Purdue when we're writing letters of recommendation, and it's like, okay, now like for the 10th year, we're writing another letter of recommendation for someone, like, do they start to know the people that are writing the letters of recommendation?
Sure.
Like, are they like, okay, here we go, it's All-Star again, another person.
Or there's a good weight to it.
Is it? I mean, you don't know.
I don't know.
It's like, am I dinging the person by writing this letter for them?
Yeah.
Like, are we, because, I don't know. Anyway, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Do you guys start to see patterns? Or probably not because it's so...
Not really.
Yeah.
We don't really. And a lot of times it will be the professors from either the School of Math and Science or the vet tech program that write the letters. And I've been there almost 20 years and I know enough about them to know that they're going to be particular in what they say. They're going to be honest in what they say. But no, we don't have like a recognition of, this is Dr. Smith's.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Hopefully.
Oh, just no typos, Kate.
No typos.
You're
I
typing those
definitely
out.
check for that.
For me. Yeah.
Okay, so another question we have is how early should someone start preparing? Like what steps should they take in high school or undergrad to get in here?
In high school, I would start shadowing. I would use my summers to shadow as much as possible, volunteer at your local animal shelter. Anything like that you can do is fantastic. And again, old school, get you a notebook and keep track of it. You can keep up with Excel, that's fine too, but don't cheat yourself on those hours. Clubs that you can be in are great. Future Farmers of America, we see that one a whole lot. Agriculture related clubs, we see that. But you really want to utilize those summers to build up those categorical numbers. Leadership roles are important. So if you're the president of your FFA, that's great. If you're in a sorority and you're the president, that's great because that's people skills and you're a leadership position. All of that counts and all of it's important. The thing is, you just need to keep track of it.
Yeah, you got to be able to remember to put it down.
Yes. And that's what takes time with that application. It's not that VMCAS is a difficult application. It's just so much information that's detailed and needed to complete it.
Do you think it helps if there's a variety of animal experience, or is that all lumped into one category anyway?
We look at that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
We love to see large and small. Because at LMU, you're going to do both. We're going to expose you to a little bit of everything during your time with us because we want you to be prepared. But at the same time, we understand an applicant from New York City is going to have trouble getting bovine experience.
Sure.
So we don't, no fault in that. We take that into consideration.
Yeah.
If they do, it's great. But if they don't, it's not a negative.
Okay.
We take that into consideration.
Okay.
We hear from some students like where it's really hard to get animal hours.
Yeah.
People won't hire them.
Yeah.
People won't.
Like high schoolers because of liability.
Yeah. And like just different things. And, in certain states like here, they can't volunteer because we're a for-profit business. So then they're left job shadowing, for example. But then you can only get so many hours job shadowing.
Sure.
So what other ways can they gain animal experience or that you've seen that are valuable on people's applications?
Shelter medicine.
Okay.
At our shelters at home, they're almost always ready to take volunteers, doing a number of different things. My niece is in the vet tech program now, and she shadows a lot at the shelter just to get the experience. For our admissions committee, it's super important to us that we see that you've been in the trenches, that you've seen the
You've
dirty
seen some
side
stuff.
of it.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Dr. Poe. I realize that, but that's not your everyday life as a vet. And so the more you've been in the trenches with things like that, the better. So clinics, if you can get in clinics, it's great, but look at shelters that are nearby.
What if you work on your family's farm? How do you document those types of hours?
We have a question on our application that asks, did you grow up on a family farm?
Okay.
So we do look at that.
Okay.
We look at that. And there's different spots where you can list those hours. I always advise students, depending on what they've done in those hours, to reach out to the MCAS because they're great. They're super helpful to see where they can, describe what they've done in those skills and the best place to allocate it. Keeping your dog or cat, don't list that.
Right.
I have Dandy. I have my Dandy, my little Dandy back. And she's a handful and she's a lot of hours. But if I was applying to vet school, I can't count those as hours. I've seen applicants do that. That doesn't count.
Like owning a pet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't count.
What about pet stores?
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah.
Because I worked at pet stores in high school. That was my main job. And I worked at boarding facilities.
I would list that under employment.
Okay.
And what's important about that, when you're showing that you're employed while you're in school, that shows you can balance. That you can balance your academics and a job. That's good to see, too, for an admissions committee anywhere.
Do you get a lot of applicants that don't have a science-based bachelor's degree?
I get some, but not a lot.
Okay.
I get some, but not a lot. And you don't even have to have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were talking about that. That was one of the questions.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
You don't even have to have your bachelor's to go to vet school, but I highly, highly recommend it to. It's so competitive to go to vet school. Most applicants don't get in their first time around. So having that degree is helpful. We're seeing more and more applicants have graduate degrees.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
In science, in public health, sometimes the MBA. But I always encourage students that if you don't get in on that first try, we're a little different as far as the vet school goes. We do individualized personal file reviews. We offer that.
I was going to ask if
a
you remember.
A lot of schools don't do that just because of the volume, and it is a ton of work. I won't lie. But you get an appointment with us, myself, my colleagues, and we sit down with you and we can do a Zoom or a phone call and talk about areas where you look really good and areas where you need a little work.
So is that if you were to not get in?
Okay. And like right now we have some that are waitlisted.
Okay.
So they're in limbo waiting to hear, but they can still get that file review now because you want to have that plan B. If I don't get in, and for so many of them, we'll see that they've struggled that freshman year of college because it's a different world. It's totally different. But that ends up making them have to dig themselves out of a hole. And that's hard to do. So for a lot of them, we encourage them to do a graduate program. I always push them to do that in the sciences. MBAs are great. I have my MBA. It's great. I don't want to be a vet. But if it's in the sciences, it's great. And we at LMU have a Master of Science in Veterinary Biomedical Sciences, and it's bridged with our vet school. And so we have about 30 to 35 students per year that do it. And we're unique because we put them in vet anatomy 5-hour credit with vet school students. They're completely immersed. They do the lecture. They do the lab. If they get a B or a better and get into the program, they don't have to retake vet anatomy that first year. So it's 5 credits off their plate.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
If they pull and have a 3.0 grad GPA, by the end of their first semester, they're guaranteed an interview.
Oh.
So that's a really cool program too.
Yeah.
And it's especially helpful for those that have a little something they need to overcome. Some it's hours, some it's GPA, what have you. But it gives them a fresh slate to start working on and show that I'm more mature now academically, personally, what have you. I can do this. Let me know. And I've had students, I was over that program before I came to the vet school. I helped to build that program. My first year, I had 4 students. And by the time that I left, I had a wait list after 30-something. Awesome. But it's because it's so unique. And I had students turn me down.
Yeah.
They would get an offer to LMU. They'd get an offer to UT, Virginia, Maryland. So graduate programs like that can really strengthen your application overall for any vet school you want to apply to.
So is it even possible you have so many applicants? If you have do you have a way to remember oh, we saw this applicant come through last year? Is it only really possible to remember that person or what you instructed them to work on if they have that file review with you, if that makes sense? Or I didn't know if if people are applying and they go to the same schools, does it become weight to see that they keep coming back?
So on VMCAS, there's a section where you can have your custom questions. And that's where every vet school can put their individual what they want to know. That's where we find out. Our service mission area is Appalachia. That's where we ask that question. But we have a question on there as well is, have you applied before to vet school? If so, what have you done to enhance your application this time?
Okay.
So we do have that as a section on there. And then our admissions committee can go back to the previous cycle and see what was advised, see the weak areas, and see if they really did follow through. So that's something that we do as well.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
So every applicant or application, you guys basically review it and make notes in it.
It's exhausting.
I was going to say,
insane.
oh my God.
I don't even
constant.
know. How is your day structured?
It's just chaos.
Can you walk through?
Chaos.
Do you go cross-eyed?
I mean, do you have
often?
toothpicks in your office? Like this?
Yeah. My team, my admissions team, I have 4 teammates in admissions, and they're wonderful, and we bust it up and divide it. We look at students once they are verified by VMCAS. That's important.
Okay.
You have
Get
to be
verified.
Yes, you have to be verified. And in order to be verified, you have to have had all of your transcripts sent from every school you attended. I don't care if 3 credits from a community college are listed on your bachelor's school.
Yeah.
I still need that 3-credit transcript.
Okay.
And it has to be official.
Okay.
That goes to VMCAS. So they go through all of that documentation to make sure it's legit, it's official, and then we go through and check it to see individually if you either have your prereqs completed or if they're in progress for the fall or spring. So yeah, we go through each one individually.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Do you drink a lot of coffee? Do you have
Do you have
goggles
weekend
on?
classes?
Iced coffee. A little soy milk in it, some Splenda, and it's all good.
Do you have special screens for your eyes? Do you print it out? I have so many questions.
Yes, it's a
That
lot.
sounds
of
like
work.
a lot.
It's a lot.
Oh my God.
And then we interview, like I said, 650, 660, something like that.
So there's only there's 4 of you total for the LMU admission. 5 of you total for all of LMU vet school admissions. 5.
So, do
You
you
guys are
now, we're getting way
superheroes.
off
Yeah.
on a tangent here. But do you see that AI might play a role in narrowing down
Ooh.
applicants in the future so that you can more focus on
Chat GPT. How is this applicant?
is this applicant going to survive?
There's been chatter of that, but
Not to do the whole screening, but
right.
to do the
Help you
so
a
then
little
you're
bit.
as a funnel, to be okay,
Sure.
now we have.
There's been chatter of that. I don't see that coming onto our forefront anytime in the near future.
Yeah.
We also have our students do the Casper assessment. Are y'all familiar with that?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
You used to have to do the GRE.
Oh yeah.
So many schools
yeah.
are dropping that because
Yeah.
it's painful.
We did the VCAT.
But the
VCAT. Actually, yeah. I think I had to do the VCAT.
I've never even heard of that. Y'all
Yeah, I didn't do well on either one of those. The
Okay.
VCAT or,
Nothing wrong with it.
I'm pretty sure I did the VCAT.
or the GRE or the
I did not do GRE.
GMAT. And what's the other graduate test that's out
I don't
there?
know.
There's
Those are
PCAT
so.
for pharmacy.
Okay, keep going. Sorry, we were interrupting you.
Okay.
So Casper.
We're
okay.
reminiscing.
Casper is something we incorporated a couple of years ago, and you do it online. They have different testing dates and times. So there's some in the evenings, on the weekends. It's not super expensive at all, but it's a scenario-based assessment. So
that's cool.
part of it's written and part of it is video. And it's an assessment that shows things like integrity, grit, empathy, things like that. It's very hard to fail the Casper, but it can be done.
How is it hard?
It can be done. The instance that comes to my mind is there was a question about you work at a restaurant and your waitresses have a specific uniform they have to wear. And you have an employee get hired and you come in and you don't have a size to fit her for the uniform. What do you do?
Oh.
And the candidate was like, well, if she's that size, I'm not going to hire her anyways. Temporarily lost their mind. Don't say, don't. I appreciate the honesty.
Foot in mouth.
Gosh. Yeah.
Oh.
Ouch. Ouch is right.
Well,
So, but we like the Casper because that's another way that we can see you off the paper. And that's part of the holistic process.
okay.
It's having all these different pieces that come together.
Now, so people don't have to take it. It's just optional, or no, they do have to take it. So are schools getting away from the standardized testing? Like never?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They are. A lot of schools are getting away from it. Some are doing Casper. It's becoming more and more common. There's one that's Kira, Kira. I think it's becoming common. But yeah, the GRE is going away.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing indicative from the data of the GRE that's, indicative of how they're going to do on the
Amen.
Yeah.
I've been saying that forever.
Yeah, you got your
Like,
transcripts anyway.
Listen, I mean, like, who cares about the SAT? Like, I'd rather know what someone could do, like, every day.
Yeah.
Like, they're great than what they can do on a day.
Yes.
How can you talk to one person, two people? Like, how can you communicate? It's all about communication. We talk about it all the time.
Not calculus.
That's right.
I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Or English.
Yeah.
I get it. I
Okay.
get that completely.
Oh, gosh. Okay, sorry. We got
I was going to say, where are we at?
I feel like she
Okay.
kind of already answered the application process.
I was gonna say
like
the
big
big
points as it
I
pertains.
just ramble. So
No, this
y'all
is
run
great.
me
Because big
We're
points
flowing
are-
great.
Oh, I know one thing to mention, though, on the application process that Dr. Curtis was talking about is that
Love her.
sometimes people have situations in their lives that make them have scenarios that are less than ideal. So, like, you might have a grade point average of 3.2, but you
Went through
got
something.
like maybe you got called to active duty, and so you
had a
ended up
parent die
failing.
or
Yeah, whatever. Like, isn't there a section
There is.
on the application that
There
people
is.
don't use all the time when they should actually use it?
They should. There is a section on VMCAS, and it's for extenuating circumstances. Use that if need be. Do not write a book. Keep it concise. Keep it direct. It's much more likely to get read with significance than if you write a novel about it. I would advise that as a director.
Yeah, no, that's
But utilize that for sure.
sure. I
'Cause
mean,
those
we
things
hope people
matter.
don't have like a lot of sad things, but
You never know.
Yeah,
you never know. Yeah,
that are
That's a good
serious
point.
factors,
right.
that
Yeah, absolutely.
would be
tremendously
you'd be like, oh, if I would have known that, I would have,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So,
Right.
Yeah.
okay, sorry, Courtney.
Every
that's
detail about
okay.
your life.
Right, except for-
Basically,
no,
this
and
is
that.
what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I think we mainly hit on the big points for the application process. So like the form or the rec form, like recommendations.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one.
The Casper
The
sounds like.
Casper assessment.
Yep.
Transcripts.
Transcripts.
Got to be verified.
Must be verified. And
Okay.
those go to VMCAS.
Yes.
that
That
stuff
first
goes-
set of transcripts goes to VMCAS. Now, after that VMCAS deadline of September 15th closes, they don't take them anymore. So when you finish that fall semester and have those grades on your transcript, then you send them directly to the schools you've applied to.
Got it.
We upload them, we correlate those with your account, and that way they can be factored in, and the admissions committee can see those, and everything's calculated.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
keep a notebook.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm
notebook.
all about notebooks.
Yeah.
Keep a notebook and don't wait until the last minute.
Please.
And take your
Yes.
time on your
For
application.
the love of all the COVID, don't wait till the last minute. Yeah.
That's the biggest key point to take away from this.
Yes.
It is. You'll thank me later.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it at all.
Okay. So now on to interviews.
So you made it through the application process.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Now you're going to get an interview. Now, one of the questions that somebody posed was, why are some schools getting rid of the interview process? Do you have an idea? I know LMU does not. They still do interviews. But I have been where they say they don't do interviews.
So it's just based off application.
Yes.
Ooh.
Some schools are doing that.
Hmm.
LMU is not, and I don't foresee us doing that.
Mhm.
We really want to have a conversation
Mhm.
with applicants. Everybody's different in their style of communication. I've seen 4.0s come through that can't have a conversation with that book on the table.
Mm.
I don't care if you have a 4.0. If you can't converse, that's an issue.
Yeah.
But we really want to have those interviews to get some insight on a candidate's understanding of the profession, what they want to do, their communication abilities.
Mhm.
All those things play into that. And to be quite honest, there are a lot of vet schools out there, and there are state schools, different options to pick. We want candidates to like us as much as we like them.
Mhm.
We want it all to be a good fit.
Yeah.
And those interviews play a role in that for sure.
Yeah. I didn't realize. Are there a lot of schools getting rid of the interviews?
Quite a few are getting rid of
Yeah.
them.
I
Is
don't
it
know
just
which
like a
ones,
timing
but-
thing? Basically, they just don't want to deal with it. I mean, I mean, no one to be harsh, but that's kind of probably what it is, right?
I mean, it would seem like it would be so much work. That maybe that's the reason
Sure.
why.
Yeah. 650 interviews is what she's saying. So
Yeah.
for
That's a
them,
lot of interviews.
Yeah.
And especially when they're multi-minis and you're rotating them
Yes.
every 8 minutes between
Yes.
rooms. It is a lot, but to us, that's something that we see as being worth it.
Yeah.
Worth the time and worth the
Mhm.
effort to do it, just to get so they can see our personality and we can see theirs, because they get to talk to 3 different faculty members
Mhm.
and chit chat with them. And like I said, we want it to be a conversation, a lot like it is with us right now,
Mm-hmm.
just to see how they are.
So with your mini interview set up with Zoom,
Yeah.
how does that work?
That's also complicated.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds very complicated.
No, it's really not. We have them, they set up their time and their date that they want to interview. And then I have breakout rooms where I have Dr. Robertson, Dr. Thompson, Dr. Smith, whoever.
Yeah.
And so I let everybody in the waiting room, in from the waiting room when it's their time. I give them the spiel of what's going to happen, that I'm going to drive them. Just chill. I'll take care of all that. And so they have 8 minutes with each person. With each person, I give them a 30-second warning,
Yeah.
and then I just rotate them from their room.
Like,
Like
Oh, like-
Zoom rooms?
yeah, I was going to say
Zoom
the
meeting
room.
rooms? Not actual rooms?
Breakout
Okay.
rooms in Zoom. Yeah. And so we do that, and we take turns, my staff and I, because it's hard to keep up with every 8
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
Every time you turn around, 8 minutes has passed, and I get distracted.
Yeah.
But that's how we do that. And the
Okay.
last few years, that's worked really well.
Okay.
It's worked really well.
Yeah.
In that instance, just advice a little bit on that. When you sit down and get ready to do your interview, dress professionally from
Oh.
at least the waist up. I don't care if you have your pajamas on the bottom, but professionally,
Yeah.
watch what your background is.
Mm.
Make sure it's a quiet space.
Mhm.
Don't have your dog running around after you. We love dogs. Obviously, we love our kitty cats, but you want to be professional in that, even if it is a Zoom interview.
Yeah.
All that plays a part in it.
Yeah. Make sure your internet's working.
Make sure
your internet's
Make sure you
working.
have Zoom.
That you know how to turn your sound on.
One of the things
All
that
the
somebody was talking about was that folks in the interviews, in the Zoom interviews or in interviews now, are saying, may I have a moment, please? Or something along those lines, where they pause
Mhm.
to be able to think about the answer to their question,
Oh.
Which is cool.
which is
Yeah.
cool. But like, they do it for every question.
Oh.
And you
And
have
so-
8 minutes.
Mhm.
Right. And so, and then also to not have up on your computer screen answers to things,
That's so important.
because
Yeah.
people, especially if you have glasses on, they can see. the
Yeah.
Or if you're
reflection.
going like this every 5
I didn't even
minutes.
consider people doing that, but
Yeah.
And that's so important with the interviews too, regardless
Just be
of what
yourself.
school.
yeah.
Be
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see.
Yeah.
We want to see you being your legitimate self, Don't give canned responses
Right.
that are what you think they want to hear, because they've done this enough that they know that you're doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not fooling anybody.
Right. And then you end up at a school that wasn't a good fit for you.
Mhm.
So
Like, it doesn't help you.
Right.
No.
So,
Exactly.
like, be who you are.
Yeah.
Yes,
And if
exactly.
it's a question that you don't know an answer to, or you kind of are wavering on, kind of let them know that in a graceful way.
Yeah.
But don't run around it. Don't avoid the question. Address it. If you say, I'm not sure on that, I think such and such, other than just making up a rambling something.
Saying everything but.
Yeah.
Don't
Word
do that.
salad.
Yeah.
Address it.
Yeah.
Address the question.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah. I didn't even think about people having stuff up on their screens. Wow.
You
Yeah.
never know.
Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
you never know.
These days.
I know. That's
And you
crazy.
never can overdress for an interview.
Yeah,
That's
no.
the rule of thumb. You can underdress, but you can never overdress.
Yes.
Do you
So-
have any other advice for people preparing for their interview? I mean, you covered a lot. I feel like you covered most of it.
I encourage students, if they are
Like how to
nervous
prepare.
about their interview, to Google interview questions. Just Google it.
Yeah.
See what you come up with. Practice.
Mm.
Practice with a professor, with your
Mhm.
mama, with your aunt, with your whoever. Use your cell phone and tape it so
Mm.
you can watch yourself respond. I've seen students before when I've been advising them, and they are in a swivel chair and they swivel back and forth the whole time. Or they're picking at their nails, or they're picking at their
Yeah.
hair, and they don't even realize they're doing
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
But the more you practice those skills, the better you get at them,
Mhm.
and the more acclimated you
Mm.
get at them. So you can't practice too much for that, I don't think.
That's probably a way. I mean, that's one of the questions, how to stand out in an interview.
Yep.
So be yourself and practice and
Absolutely.
be calm
And
Yeah,
be
as best you
confident.
can.
And be confident
Yeah.
in yourself. For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's tons of books out there about interviewing
Sure.
as well. Richie had Holden because he just did all of this because he's graduating.
Yeah.
And so we had to interview for jobs. And he was so nervous about interviewing. And he was interviewing at Lilly, where he's been doing his internship. He knows the people. And
Yeah.
Richie kept going, "Don't you know the people that you're interviewing with?" And he's like, "Yes, but no. And so Richie and him, they bought this book and then went through all the questions,
Sure.
and it was so helpful because Holden did mock interviews with Richie and I.
Yeah.
And, it was very easy to be like, "You're talking too long. You don't need to talk that long.
Yeah.
Stop talking."
Yeah.
Just, as an employer, I don't want to hear all the things you're saying.
Yes.
Just
Sure.
answer the freaking question.
Yeah.
And that's
Um,
even asking them questions about,
yeah.
what do you think about the environment, climate warming?
Yeah.
See how that's an unexpected question that you wouldn't get, but it's one you need to address
Right.
concisely.
right.
Mm.
So the more practice you get with that, the better. And a lot of candidates don't like the idea of filming themselves
Mm-hmm.
because that's awkward. I get it.
Yeah.
But it can help you tremendously in the
Yeah.
long run.
So are the interview questions let's just take that climate warming one
Okay.
for an example. Is there an underlying meaning to those types of questions you're looking for an answer? You really just want to see how someone constructs an answer from something
Basically.
like that. Okay.
That just came off the top of my head.
Yeah. Well, no, I asked because I'm pretty I don't remember the exact question when I went to Michigan State and they did the mini interviews.
Yeah.
One of them was so random to me, and it was about the population of people in the world or something. And I was literally read it and I'm like, how does this pertain to
Veterinary
anything?
medicine or something.
And then I
Yeah.
was like, I feel like I need to be political, politically correct, I should say. That's the way I should put
So
it.
it made you squirm a little bit?
It did. It made me squirm. And I don't even remember my answer, but I remember thinking, I feel like I did not answer it
rattled
well.
something off.
Yes.
Most of ours are based on the practice of veterinary medicine.
Yeah.
We may throw in an ethical question
Sure.
on that just to get a reaction of what students think. But we want to know that students, like I said earlier, understand the field that they're getting into, that they've been in the trenches, they understand the profession, even as far as what they expect to make as a salary.
Mhm.
It's so important that they're knowledgeable and have that information and have learned that before they start this journny.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Do different schools weight things differently?
Yes.
So they might weight their grades, they might weight where you come from, all of that, depending on the school, can be
Yes.
different.
For us, for example, Appalachia's our mission region. We'll
Mhm.
look at that. But like for a school that doesn't do interviews, clearly that's not going to be a part of their rubric, and it is ours.
Mhm.
So we look at all of those different factors and have different weights assigned to them, to like their letters of rec, if they've done research or not,
Sure.
all that stuff.
Is there any weight in whether or not they have family members that are veterinarians?
No.
Okay. I was curious, like, if it
Yeah.
made...
No. And in that instance, bringing that up, if your daddy's a vet, don't have your daddy write a letter. I saw that like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, "Are you serious?" Of course, your daddy's going to say you hung the moon.
Right.
Don't do that.
Don't do
So,
that. That's right.
Common sense on some of these.
That's a good point, though.
Yeah, it really
That's
is.
hilarious.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh!
Uh,
And that's another thing too. I'm a director of admissions with our program. If you have a question about your application, the interview, housing, whatever, you call me. Don't have your mama call me.
oh,
Don't
yeah.
have your daddy call me.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is professional school.
Yeah.
And I want to see that you have the ability and the gumption and the confidence to call and ask me about this and that. Because I'm not going to tell your mom and daddy anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Legally, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So that's
Do you have people's parents?
every day.
adults. These are adults.
Amen.
Yes. And do they
Wow.
do people do parents at all like intervene in? Have you ever had anything weird happen like in interviews or anything like that? Like where
That you can talk about.
yeah.
I've had chats with applicants who put me on speakerphone so the whole family could hear and ask questions.
Oh, like a conference call.
Basically, yeah, had that.
That shouldn't have been a conference call.
During an interview or just during basic questions?
Just basic like
Oh, okay.
information. session.
Okay, gotcha.
I had one dad write a letter of recommendation of why we should reconsider his child for admission, and he listed all these wonderful things that she had done. But like,
You're her dad.
you're her daddy.
Yeah.
Like, clearly, don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Those are the oddities. That I see.
Yes.
But it's very common, especially now that we have waitlisted students, for parents to call. When will Susie hear? We need to plan her move. We need to do this. We
Oh,
need to do that.
wow.
When will she hear? I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be any time between now and the start of the fall semester that Susie needs to call me and address that herself.
Mhm,
Susie's
sure.
grown.
Yeah.
Susie's grown. So that's important too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, gosh,
absolutely.
interesting.
Wow. Fascinating.
You never know.
No, you sure don't. It sounds like.
It's so fascinating.
Okay, so we have a question about like the future of vet education.
Yes.
So what do you see in the future when it comes to veterinary education? One example maybe would be that schools are getting rid of the interview process.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing we've talked about on here is that vet schools, their fourth year, are now going outside of the teaching hospitals. So that's
Uh-huh.
another thing. So anything else, or can you add to any of that?
We're hybrid distributed.
Okay.
So what that means with us is you spend 3 years with us at LMU and Harrogate and Ewing at the farm, as we call it, hands-on right from the get-go. Your fourth year, you do rotations, and you can do those regionally, nationally, internationally.
Okay.
The sky is the limit, really, with that. Teaching hospitals are a great way to learn,
Mm-hmm.
but they're expensive to run. That's what we all know that.
Yeah.
And so as we've seen newer schools coming online to, offer veterinary education, more and more of them are doing this hybrid distributive model.
Yeah.
Just because it's cheaper that way, for lack
Sure.
of a better word. But the thing about it is, in that fourth year, when you're doing rotations, that's giving you basically a 5 to 6 week interview
Mm.
with that practice.
Yeah.
So it's very common for our students to graduate and already have 3 and 4 job offers on the table.
Yeah.
Because they've seen them in action. They've seen what they can do. They're confident and competent. And they know that, okay, for, Susie, I'm not going to have to hold her hand this whole first year. I want her on my team.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That makes a big deal
Hmm.
when you're looking at actually working and practicing as a veterinarian.
Do you get feedback from the fourth year students? Like, or through faculty, have you heard like how they like that kind of setup? And meaning like going out for the 4th year rotations,
I
or?
haven't heard anything negative
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
And it's funny, some students want to zigzag across the country or the globe. Others want to do rotations in the area where they ultimately want to practice. I think that's smart
Mm-hmm.
because if that's where you want to practice,
Yeah.
you're going to be kind of in that arena doing these interviews as you do your rotations. Typically, our students love the rotations.
Does the school have like specific things that the clinics that they go to have to have or do, or how do they set like a standard of?
They have to do shelter medicine.
Okay.
They have to do a rotation at Glut at University of Kentucky. And then there's one more. I think it's in New York. I should know that, but I don't. But there are 3 required rotations that they have to do. And the others, they can kind of pick the genre that they want to work in. Like we've had students do rotation that's at the CDC in Atlanta, with sled dogs in Alaska.
Cool.
SeaWorld. We've had students do a little bit of everything with that. And let's say they wanted to do a rotation in Clinton, Indiana, and we didn't have an affiliate there yet. They could talk to that vet, and that vet could contact our clinical relations team, and we could get that set up probably with no issue at all.
Oh, cool.
And get it rolling.
So they have to be an affiliate then?
They have to be an
Okay.
affiliate.
I mean,
Gotcha.
and like All-Star is because we had like Emily rotate through.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. She was great.
Oh, yeah. I feel like
she was.
So,
I mean, you know, it's a very interesting concept.
it is.
You know how we were talking, because I was asking her about the duty hours, the student duty hours. And I was like, you know what, one thing you don't get complaints about are the student duty hours because you don't have a animal hospital.
Yeah.
And so all these students don't have that happening to them, you know? And so I thought that was an interesting side effect, is that that's not occurring. Not who knows in their rotations if they're
Right.
you know, but to the student, I bet it feels a whole lot different being in an outside clinic.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And we do have clinical hours for our students. We work a whole lot with local shelters. I don't know if strays and things like that are a big obstacle up here, but that's a huge problem at home. People don't want to spend the money to spay or neuter their animals, and so there's babies everywhere.
Yeah.
And so we try to work with our local shelters in the tri-state area and bring them in and get them taken care of, shots, and then get them adopted. A lot of times our vet school students will foster them and then fall in love with them.
Yeah,
and get them. But in that instance, we do have kennel hours where they're assigned to go out, and our vet tech students do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I was there visiting, I was talking to the students, and they get that case in the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
They have to work that case up, like, so the shelter animal, they work it
I
up.
see. Okay.
Then they schedule it for surgery. They do the surgery, and then they have to do its post-op care.
Oh.
And one of the students, it ended up having a problem, like that they had to actually then manage.
Oh,
And
wow.
then- yeah,
That's
it was
cool.
really interesting.
That is interesting.
And they're like, yeah, like now we're stuck with a dog that has, like, it was supposed to be a spay, and now it
Sure.
had like some other problem. I can't remember what the problem was.
Huh.
And so it was really cool to hear them talk about how they bring it in, they have to do this and this and this and this and this. And then, it was really clever.
So do you have like a vetting process to become an affiliate to make sure that they're going to, like, I don't know. I don't want to say a
Quality
decent
or,
place,
like,
but
I don't know, like,
Dr. Moses is over our clinical year department. He does all that paperwork, his team, and he do that. We have affiliates. I don't know if they're affiliate managers or whatever, but they're folks that work in the field for us. So like in California, for instance, we have a vet out there that works for LMU, and it goes to check and see if everything is being done right.
Okay, gotcha.
All that.
Yeah.
And then they're graded on that clinical affiliate year. But we do monitor it. And we even have, they're not with us. They could be anywhere, but we offer a service where if they have car trouble or need a lawyer or what have you, it's a line that they can call 24/7 and get the support they need, psychological, mental services. So even when they're 1,000 miles away, we're still there. We still got you.
I was gonna say, if they're going to an affiliate and being more hands-on and something happens or whatever,
yes,
are they
yes
liably covered?
And you get the feedback from the students. So like if the students think
Right.
It sucks there. You know, like
I'm
they're
sure
going
I'm
to
not
hear.
afraid to say it.
Yeah.
Right. They're not afraid to say it. They go back, I'm sure, and spill the beans,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, we've got like, what is it? I don't know. How many more schools are coming on board?
I thought it was like 10 or something.
10, 12, something like that.
Lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Do you guys feel, out of curiosity, do you feel like there's a shortage of veterinarians, or do you feel like there's a shortage of veterinarians in particular areas?
I think
Or
our
both.
school looks at it that there's a shortage of veterinarians as a whole,
Hmm.
especially in rural areas.
Especially in rural areas, yeah.
That's a huge arena. And with
Mhm.
Appalachia being our mission field, you know, Harrogate's a small town, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I think we have 2 vets, maybe 3. It's not a lot when you
Mhm.
think about it. We just got an urgent care clinic, which is fantastic. I've used it and it's been wonderful. But I think it's just a shortage overall. And that's part of why we opted to incorporate both a spring and a fall cohort to help to fill that gap.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
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 Very
And
cool.
the goal for the new schools coming out too. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I pull out those questions before we get to the
Yeah. Did we get through our?
encouragement?
Oh
ones?
yeah.
Okay,
I have
let
a
me-
random question for you.
Hit it.
Do you see a lot of people apply that are vet techs that want to further their education, become a vet?
I see that quite a bit.
Is it like more than not, or is it just depend? Or
It's a handful.
okay,
It's a handful. I see people who have had a career in the military and retired and want to come back and be a vet. I see people who have been a doctor and they come back, like an MD or a DO, and they want to come back and be a
Interesting.
vet. It is interesting
Huh.
because we've had students who are in their 50s that have come back to school, even because vet's what they've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's awesome. To me, that adds to our little melting pot. of
Yeah.
students. It
Mhm.
brings some,
Perspective.
vivaciousness to the class. Yes.
That's got to give them a
absolutely.
leg up as an applicant to be an MD, right? Like,
Not really.
no? What?
No.
That is shocking. I feel like you're an MD. Like,
That's one of those holistic factors, but
Huh.
it's not, it doesn't make it a shoe-in. no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
so interesting.
They're getting out of being an MD because they don't have to work with people. They don't want to work with people.
Joke's on you.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Okay,
Joke's on
let's do
you.
the rapid fire questions here.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, so
There's not that many, right? I
No,
don't think
huh?
so.
how far back should I go with achievements? Because I was told as many as you have. And you said,
If you've done stuff like in your junior and senior year of high school, I would list that, especially if it's something like FFA, meat judging, all that good stuff. I would list that. Do not go further than that. I don't want to know what you did in the 8th grade.
okay,
I
fair enough. Fair
congratulate
enough.
you on it. But I would, like junior year and up, I would list it.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good. The other one is I have 2,000 hours in small animals with vet, but only 500 as a tech. The other 1,500 useful.
Maybe
I think
are
we-
the other 1,500 useful?
I think, yeah. Other 1,500 or what?
I don't understand that.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Let's
Not
move
sure.
on.
All the hours are useful and helpful. List them.
Can't list them,
Yeah.
baby.
Yep, sure. Absolutely.
There's another one that says, can you still get into vet school without a bachelor's degree? Which we already covered that.
Yes, you can, but it's risky business.
Risky business.
It's a gamble to do that.
Are
Okay.
those the ones that do the first 2 years or 3 years as an undergraduate and then go into, they're trying to do early acceptance? Or,
They've met all their prerequisites by that time.
Got it.
Okay.
So, like with us, they've had to do at least 8 hours of 300 and above classes. I'm sorry, excuse me. But as long as they've got all their prereqs met, they can apply.
Mm-hmm.
But as competitive as it is, I don't recommend it.
Do you have like I know Purdue has, it's the Purdue Scholar Program where it was
2
set up
years
like
is-
that.
and then-
You do
yeah.
2 years and then you apply. Because is there anything like that through LMU?
We have the EAP program, and it's designed. It's kind of transformed a little bit over the last year or so, but they do 3 years with us as an undergrad in the veterinary field, and they have mentors, and they get hours, certain benchmarks that they meet, and in that 4th year is their first year of vet school if they've met all the criteria. So it cuts a year down.
Got
It
it.
saves them time and money.
Mhm.
We don't have a huge number of students that do that, but it's a really cool program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. What types of experiences hold more weight than others? I feel like we
kind of touched on that.
Yeah, I don't think any or more. It's comparing apples to oranges.
Right, yeah.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you can. Document it in your notebook.
try to hit all of them.
Try to, if you can hit them all, hit them all.
Yeah.
But if you can't, don't stress. Because we understand, like I said, if you live in Manhattan, you're not going to be able to work with cows, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
I think
There's
that was
one-
That was it, right?
There's one more, but I think we also talked about it. Like it says, how can I get admitted straight out of high school if I can't get animal experience due to age? But we kind of already just talked about what you can do.
Yeah. Utilize your summers on all those
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that way you're not having to balance your schoolwork and, your experiences.
Mm-hmm.
You're not having to balance a job. Just any way that you can do that.
Mhm.
Now, if you can do it during the fall or the spring and balance it, great. But don't overload yourself.
You're only
Yeah.
one person.
You're only one person. You can only do so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think we were saying too, when we talked about that question is, I don't think it's possible to get admitted right out of high school. You still have those prerequisites
Yes.
anyway.
That
So
you have to get.
right.
Yeah.
So unless you're in a foreign, because then we talked about the foreign students who their undergraduate is their veterinary school, right?
Yeah.
They have to decide.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about in Mexico when we were talking to the person, the doctor
Mhm.
from Mexico,
Mhm.
right? Like she had to decide right off the bat.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's
Interesting.
Yeah. And I knew one of my friends from the Netherlands, that was one thing that I remember explaining to us, like you could go through high school and then just go straight to be a doctor
Wow.
or go to doctor school. So
Everywhere's different.
yeah,
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, encouragement and resources for our listeners. What is one thing you would like to share with candidates that are applying right now?
Do not procrastinate.
Do not procrastinate. There we
that was
go.
coming.
Do not procrastinate. Be responsible. That sounds silly to say, but take your time on that application. Take your time, fill it out accurately. Don't cheat yourself out of hours, but do not wait till the last minute to submit it. But here's the thing with that. When you submit that application to VMCAS, they have to verify it. We talked about that. That doesn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
That takes time. As you get to that September 15th deadline, that volume gets higher and higher because people wait till last minute and they procrastinate. And so the earlier you can get yours completed and submitted, the sooner you're going to be verified, the sooner you could potentially be offered an interview.
I was going to say, do you read them as they're submitted or do you wait
As they're
till
verified, we go
as they're
through them.
Okay.
It's rolling admissions.
Got it. Okay.
Very cool. Okay.
So say somebody has tried to get into vet school multiple times and they don't have any success. They have been denied. What would help them improve their chances if they are reapplying?
I would encourage them to just call us to do a file review, first of all.
Right.
With myself or Makisha, we'd be happy to do, like I said, a Zoom or a telephone call. And what we do is once we get that on our calendar, we go through their application and dissect it. We look at all those little factors and see what's good. And there's always good. But we also see where there are shortages, whether it be animal hours or their letters of recommendation. All of them didn't get turned in or they were poor. I would set up a file review. Some schools do that. We do that diligently. Others don't. I would encourage them, though, no matter what school it is, to reach out to the admissions office and say, can you help me see what my shortages are?
Right.
And hope that they would give them a little bit of
I
guidance.
think that's genius. It's such a great resource.
It's time consuming for sure. Makisha's been working on those a lot, and I've done quite a few, but it's such a resource. And if candidates are willing to pay as much as they do to apply to vet school, the least we can do is give them 15 or 20 minutes of our time to talk about their application.
Yeah.
Why do you think the candidates get declined that many times in a row? It's just, who knows why? I mean, like, would there be something just like, is there any validity in like, okay, that person's applied 3 times. They clearly want to come. Like they clearly are interested in this field. Does that weigh in on the process? Like their desire to be part of the profession, is it carry any weight?
It shows that they want to be part of the profession, But if their science GPA is still a 2.3 or a 2.5, they're not going to get in. And that's partly us on the academic side, just an ethical issue.
Yeah.
Because if you can't pull your weight in undergrad,
Sure.
I don't want you to incur the debt of vet school.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where I would say, though, to that candidate, go to grad school.
Yeah.
Get you a fresh slate. Show up and show out. A's and B's, no C's.
Yeah.
Show us what you can do and then apply.
And then apply.
Yeah.
That's a great thing for.
Yeah.
So rather than going through it 3 times, maybe
Yes.
if you're getting declined, would it be fair to say if you get declined a second time, that should be something that you consider?
Yeah.
I would absolutely
Is starting
say that.
with a clean slate.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and she said there's on their section there, have you applied and what have you done differently?
Yes.
Right.
So there's a
To
way to
strengthen
say,
your application.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Where are we? Number 3. Where can people go to find out the prerequisites to different vet schools?
The VINSAR is what I would recommend, and that's the Veterinary Medical School Admissions Requirements.
Okay.
If you Google VINSAR, it's basically, they used to print it out on paper, but now it's online. But it gives you every veterinary medical school, international and national, and all that's listed there. It lists their class sizes. It'll list like the CASPER, tuition costs. It's like a snapshot of every school. But it's
Okay,
really
cool.
handy to enter.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's a good resource.
Yeah.
Very handy.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. Well, do you have anything else? Now,
Yeah.
you've spent your, time here. We really appreciate that. What would you like to say about LMU?
I love LMU so much. I grew up, my family farm borders LMU. There's a cemetery in the middle of campus where my mama and papa are buried. So I'm
Aw.
about as hometown as you can get with it. So I'm a little biased. but I've worked there almost 20 years, and it's such a good place to be. It's the best way that I can describe LMU is to say that it's down home. And you'll notice that if you come and visit, everybody's going to speak. Everybody's going to smile, whether they know you or not. That's on campus. That's at Walmart. That's wherever you go. So don't be freaked out by that. But I love that hospitality that LMU offers. And that's something you can't buy. That's not technology. That's not infrastructure. That's something you either have or you don't. Dean Anderson, she's dean of the vet school. Her office is around the corner from mine. Her door's open all the time. So if you as a student want to go ask her something, go ask her something. I love that. And we love our students. We know our students. You're talking about Dr. Curtis, Courtney, and I love Court. She's so good. She's fantastic. But I knew her when she was a student there, and now she's faculty. But to me, that speaks somewhat for itself. They had such a good experience that they wanted to come back and be a part of the team. It's just a good place. Come see us. Come visit. Come down.
Makes me want to go visit.
I
Shoot.
loved it. I went and I loved it. Their ingenuity is something to just, it's awe-inspiring. It was way different than what I ever expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Come
very
on down.
cool.
We'll make a day of it.
Okay.
Yeah. It was very
Can we
cool.
hit the corner where you can hit all 3 states?
Sure. We'll take your
I
picture.
can, I can make that happen.
We'll take you there because you've never been there.
Yeah. Y'all take
It'll be an experience for all of us.
Yeah. I'm down with it.
That sounds great.
But no,
All right.
I appreciate y'all having me. This has been
Yeah.
a lot of fun. I hope what I've been able to share will be helpful to
Oh, yes.
applicants
Yes.
that are watching and listening. And feel free to contact me if you have questions about LMU. You can go to lmunet.edu and look at the directory. I'm the only Holly there. Call me, email me.
Okay.
We'll Zoom, we'll chat, we'll plan a visit and stand in 3 states all at once.
There you go.
Excellent. That's awesome.
Thanks
That's
so
awesome.
much for being here.
No,
Yes,
thank
y'all
you.
for
Very
having me.
informative. It
Yeah.
was amazing.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Veterinary Roundtable. Remember, send in those questions and leave us a review if you enjoyed this episode or a previous one. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Veterinary Roundtable.
Thank you.
Yay.